Welcome to the Olive Grove podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're doing a deep dive, really getting into 1 Thessalonians chapter 3. It's quite a chapter.
It really is, packed with emotion and insight into the early church.
And we're using the MCS 1 Thessalonians 3 study to guide us through it.
Yeah, it provides a great contemporary lens on this ancient letter.
Our goal, really, is to unpack what this tells us about faith, community, those early challenges, and see what nuggets of wisdom are there for you listening today.
Absolutely. It's about understanding Paul's heart, the Thessalonians situation, and how it all connects. The MCS study really emphasizes that personal care aspect.
Okay, so let's jump right in, verses 1 to 5. The study points out Paul's intense concern, almost an anxiety, right?
Yeah, could no longer stand it. That's strong language.
It really is. What do you think was driving that specific level of, worry?
Well, think about the context from Acts. Paul's exit from Thessalonica wasn't exactly smooth. So he leaves this relatively new group of believers, potentially facing hostility. He hasn't heard from them. There's this gap, this silence.
And he feels responsible.
Deeply. So much so that he stays in Athens, apparently alone, and sends Timothy.
And Timothy isn't just anyone. He's called our brother and God's fellow worker for the good news of the Messiah. That's quite the endorsement.
It really underscores the weight Paul placed on this mission. Timothy wasn't just going to check in. He was going to actively work,
To make you solid and encourage you in your trust. That's the stated purpose.
Exactly. And specifically so they wouldn't be unsettled by the persecutions they were facing.
Which, as the study notes, Paul had warned them about. This wasn't a surprise, necessarily.
No, he'd been upfront. Following Jesus often meant facing opposition. It was part of the package, sadly. Acts 17 gives us some background there.
But even knowing that, Paul's still worried. He voices this fear that somehow the tempter had tempted you and our hard work had been wasted.
That's a raw fear for anyone involved in ministry or discipleship.
And the study links this directly to Jesus' parable of the sower.
Yeah, the idea of seeds falling on rocky ground or being snatched away by the birds, representing the tempter.
So it's about the vulnerability of new faith.
Precisely. Especially when it hits hardship early on. Will it take root? Will it endure? Paul understood the spiritual battle involved. It really highlights why that community support, that encouragement, is so vital.
Okay, so the tension builds, but then we get to verses 6 through 9. Timothy comes back.
And the whole tone shifts. It's like a huge sigh of relief.
He brings good news, specifically about their trust and love.
And that lovely detail, they remember Paul and his team well, and they're longing to see them, just as Paul longs to see them. That mutuality is key.
You can almost feel Paul's relief lifting off the page. How does the study kind of unpack this joy?
It really zooms in on the communal aspect. Paul's joy isn't just personal relief, it's shared strength. Their standing firm actually encourages him and his companions, even though they were in trouble and distress themselves.
Right, so it's like their success becomes his energy source.
In a way, yes. It shows how interconnected they were. One part of the body thriving lifts the others. It's like seeing fruit after planting, that John 15 idea.
Yeah.
The effort wasn't wasted.
Verse 8 is so powerful. So that now we are alive, since you continue to stand fast, united with the Lord. What does alive mean there, according to the study?
It's this profound sense of vitality, of purpose renewed. It suggests that seeing the Thessalonians remain steadfast in their faith literally invigorated Paul. It wasn't just about individual souls being saved.
It was about the community holding strong.
Yes, and that collective strength, rooted in their union with Christ, was a testament to the work's validity and a source of deep, life-giving joy for Paul. It fuels the mission.
Okay, so great news, but Paul doesn't just, kick back and relax. Verses 10 to 13 show he's still deeply invested.
Absolutely. He mentions praying night and day constantly to see them again.
It wasn't just a job-done situation for him. Why the continued urgency to get back there?
Well, the study points to his own words, to supply whatever shortcomings there may be in your trust.
Shortcomings? What does that mean? They just got a glowing report.
It's not necessarily criticism. Remember, they didn't have the full New Testament. Their understanding would still be developing. Paul, as an apostle, felt the need to provide deeper teaching, to fill in the gaps, essentially.
Okay. So ongoing discipleship.
Exactly. Foundational teaching was crucial for long-term stability.
And notice how he prays for God the Father and Lord Yeshua to direct our way to you. Even his desire to go is submitted to God's timing.
Right. It's a constant theme.
Yeah.
Human effort partnered with divine guidance. The study really stresses listening for the Holy Spirit's lead, not just rushing ahead with our own plans, however good they seem.
That's a good reminder for all of us. And he prays for their love to increase and overflow towards each other, and remarkably toward everyone.
Yeah, the study connects us directly to God's own nature. God is love. So, as believers grow closer to God,
That love should naturally spill out.
that's the idea. It's meant to be expansive, not just contained within the group. It's a key mark of genuine faith.
And the final prayer. It's a big one. For God to give them inner strength to be blameless by reason of your holiness when Jesus returns.
It sounds like an impossible standard, doesn't it?
It really does. How does the study approach that?
It clarifies that this isn't about achieving perfection through willpower. It's about God working within them. Holiness is presented as a calling, yes, but one that God himself enables through the Holy Spirit.
So it's God's work making them ready.
Precisely. Paul's prayer is for that divine strengthening, that transformation from the inside out, so they can stand confidently before God, not based on their own merit, but on his grace and work in them.
Wow. There's just so much packed into this one chapter. The personal concern, the joy in community, the reliance on God.
It really paints a vivid picture of early Christian life. The struggles, the support, the ultimate hope. Timeless lessons, really.
It definitely makes you think about the importance of connection, doesn't it? Which actually leads us perfectly into something we wanted to mention. We really encourage you, if you're looking for that kind of supportive connection, to check out My Christian Space.
Yeah, it's an online community designed specifically for believers to connect, share, and find that kind of mutual encouragement we've just been talking about.
Like a modern version of what these early churches were building. Find support, grow together. It's worth exploring.
Definitely. And speaking of support and putting that love into action.
Right. We also want to give a shout out to Enduring Freedom Ministries.
Their work is incredibly practical, very boots on the ground.
They focus on providing really essential care for people who are struggling. We're talking a hot meal, groceries, maybe some clean clothes, even a haircut or laundry services.
Things that provide dignity and meet immediate needs.
Exactly. And they've broken it down. Just $4 a month can cover those specific services for one person.
$4. It's amazing how a small, regular contribution can add up to make a real difference.
It really is. So we just ask you to consider partnering with Enduring Freedom Ministries. It's a tangible way to live out that overflowing love Paul prayed for.
A powerful way to make an impact.
So reflecting back on 1 Thessalonians 3, what an incredible journey through Paul's heart and the life of this early church. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable things to think about.
Yeah, principles of faith, community, perseverance, God's guidance. They still resonate so strongly today.
Absolutely. And if you want to keep exploring these kinds of topics with us, please do subscribe to the Olive Grove podcast right here on YouTube.
And don't forget, for early access to our discussions, sometimes before they hit YouTube and other content, head over to the My Christian Space website.
That's the place to be for the early drops. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next time.